Who remembers the BJ and Bill show all those years ago on WOLZ? Well, many have said they missed the show, and guess what? They're back. Welcome to the BJ and Bill podcast.
Welcome to BJ and Bill, the podcast, a part of the Podcast Playground Network. We ask you to subscribe, review, give us that 5-star review, subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcast, whether it be Apple, Spotify. You know the drill. You know where to find podcasts because you're listening to one right now. And welcome to episode 88, my friends.
88. Nice. That was, you almost had the line from, I think it was the very first Pirates of the Caribbean, which was one of my favorite ones, where not Jack Sparrow, but the other pirate captain, the old guy, goes, "You heard of ghost stories, little girl. Now you're in one." And it was, I love that. That's a great line. Anyway, 88. Here we go. All right.
Oh.
How's it going, How's it going, young man?
Well, I'm just glad that I get to keep my Orlando Magic bobblehead.
I know.
I offered it up to both you and my daughter's boyfriend. I said, hey, now if the Magic wins, I'll let you have my Magic bobblehead. Neither one of you really wanted the bobblehead.
No, how about that? So your daughter's new boyfriend is and I just learned that like the other day. You texted me and told me that your daughter's boyfriend is also a Cleveland fan, or is he from Cleveland?
He's from Cleveland. He's
Awesome.
a Cleveland. What is she thinking? Doesn't she know what Bill Stevens is like? And now she wants to go find another one?
Obviously, your daughter displays wonderful sense of I don't know what, just good common sense. Good common sense. That's all it is. So yes, good for her, good for him, good for me, as our Cleveland Cavaliers defeated the Orlando Magic in Cleveland on Sunday as we record this. Well, of course, we record on Monday. So yeah, on Sunday. And I was almost mad at you because you texted me and I didn't see the end of the game.
Oh.
And yeah, but I had looked it up anyway. So it's like not a big deal. But I still, when I got home, I still had it on the DVR and I still kind of fast forwarded through the second half because it was like first half. I mean, Orlando was up by what, 16, 18 points in the first half. And I'm like,
how did they blow that lead?
Ooh, this looks awful. And then I don't know what happened. I mean, Cleveland looked sharp, but they didn't look that sharp. I think Orlando, I think they had some shooting issues. I think they had really, I mean, it was tough. It was interesting and fun. As a Cleveland fan, great to watch from Cleveland on a Sunday afternoon. 18,000 of your friends screaming away in the Rocket Mortgage Arena there. So yeah, it was all good. So now that's the good news. Now we have Boston. Oh boy.
At least you were in the playoffs and you made it out of the play-in round. My team couldn't even do that. Well,
you're talking about the Warriors now. Yeah. You're talking about the play-ins. Yeah, that I don't know if I'm the Warriors. I don't know what I'm doing this season. You're keeping the coach. He's awesome. You're keeping Steph. Is there anybody else that is untradeable?
They need, and I've said this for the last 3 or 4 years, they need a big guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he'll do in the NBA, but maybe they can get Zach Edey. I don't know.
Interesting. I'm not sure he's quite ready for prime time just yet, but maybe Zach Edey from Purdue, right? Yeah, Purdue.
Yeah.
Well, it's the men's Final Four has been over for a month. We've forgotten all of them already. So
now I will tell you this also, that they need a big guy,
right?
And I think he might, because they got 2 rookies last year that really at the end of the season turned out to be 2 pretty damn good players. Forget their names offhand, just like you forgot Zach Edey.
Yeah, that's all right. But I get you. So yeah, I mean, it's serious rebuilding time for your Warriors. Serious rebuilding time. And I don't know how that and right down the road, they played the Lakers. Can LeBron really play another season? I don't know. He's as old as we are, isn't he? I mean, he's not that old. But
he's not far away.
He's not far away. So anyway, back to the good news. Cavaliers season continues, win and advance or survive. And now the Boston Celtics are rested and waiting, and the best team in the NFL. I almost said NFL in the NBA. So
that's the team that I have, because I did the little bracket thing that you could do through the NBA.
Oh, that's right. You did. Yeah.
And they are my team at the end.
Went way out on a limb for that one, didn't you, BJ?
Yep, I
way
did.
Out on a limb.
But you got to have everything right to even get the.
I know. Yeah, that's crazy. I saw the rules for that. You got to pick scores and all kinds of crazy.
You got to be a genius.
More than that, you got to be.
I think I'm already out because I know I didn't predict the right amount of games for each division.
Yeah,
I thought the Lakers would be in it a little bit. I didn't think the Lakers were going to win, but I thought they were going to be in it longer than they were.
I hear you.
So,
yeah, it's fine. That's fine. Of course, the other big basketball news on the ladies' side, Caitlin Clark is already showing up big time for the ladies.
And I tried to find that game, and I don't know what it is, but wherever I was located, it wasn't on ESPN Plus, wasn't on Fox. I couldn't find that game anywhere to be found.
I'm surprised because you'd have thought if you're ESPN or Fox, that's got to be ratings gold.
That's what I would think.
Big ratings winner. Why wouldn't you have that game on somewhere? Yeah.
Maybe the rights of it. I don't know. But I will tell you this, though. It does sound like of the WNBA games that are going to be broadcast this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think they play 40 games, and I think all but 6 games of the Indiana Fever, who is, where she went.
Right.
Are going to be aired.
She is the Michael Jordan of the WNBA. I mean, people will come to those games to see her no matter where they go. And that's great for the game. I mean, that's awesome for the game. And I hope it's not all about her. I hope it boosts the league and the game and the WNBA. So we'll see. It's a great idea. I think it's awesome.
I still watch highlights of her. And that 3-point shot she's got when she's way out, it is the sloppiest looking shot.
Oh yeah,
I have ever seen a player shoot, but they go in.
And all go in. And they all go in. Yeah. She's like Steph. Well, no, Steph is kind of like he looks like the artist that he is. Steph is an artist at that. Half court, no problem. Yeah, you're right, though. She'll be running around and stop and pop and off it goes. And you're like, what the heck is that? Oh, wait, good shot.
Yeah, it almost looks like she put some kind of weird spin on it.
Yeah.
When she shoots. It's just a weird looking shot, but I'm not going to complain because they go in.
They go in. That's all we care about. They go in. So anyway, that's our basketball hoops roundup for the week. All good. And it's now the playoffs get interesting. Second round. So, if you're a hockey fan, same with that. I know you're not a big hockey fan anymore. If it's on, I'll watch it. If it's, but I'm not glued to the TV. So
do you have Netflix?
Netflix. What about it?
So obviously you didn't watch last night.
I don't have Netflix.
I want to see it, and I probably will watch it. We record this on a Monday. Probably by the time that this podcast airs on Wednesday,
yes,
I will have seen it.
What?
The Tom Brady roast.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's on Netflix. All right, I'm not subscribing to Netflix to get it, but I'm sure, I hope, I'm knocking on wood that some highlights are on YouTube or something like that.
And I did hear it. I heard it was by far a winner.
A goat for the goat. I get it. I do want to see that. I do want to see that. Yeah, that would be That'll be amazing. That'll be amazing. So you can report back next week. I'll see if I can find it somewhere, because there are, shall we say, gray market sources for that sort of thing available online.
Talking about a little bootlegging, huh?
I wouldn't say that word out loud, but but perhaps some sort of backdoor access to sort of things. Yeah, that's available. That's sort of available. Yes. So there you go.
Okay. Yeah, we got to catch some of it though.
Yes.
They said
yes,
Gronk. They said Gronk was, which I didn't. He's all right, but he's kind of a goofy guy.
Right.
They said Gronk killed it too. So,
do you think? I mean, let's face it. Brady, obviously, super smart, genius guy. I get it. Do you think these other guys that, like Gronk, I mean, definitely not a PhD, definitely not. Do you think he wrote his own stuff, or how much help do you think they have in writing?
I would say he had a lot.
A lot.
I'm just saying, I could be wrong.
I hear
he
you.
maybe wrote the whole thing himself, but I'm thinking he said, who are some of the best Rose comedy writers there are today?
Right. And then they just, give me 3 stories. Give me 3 or 4 funny stories, locker room stuff, on the field stuff. Gronk, tell me your favorite funny stories that happened, and we'll turn them into great material. Yeah.
So everybody, if you have not watched it,
right,
be on the lookout for it.
Be on the lookout. So report back to us next week. And folks, if you watch it, if you happen to see it, and we know, because if you're listening to the podcast, we're all sports fans here. Feel free to report back on our Facebook page, BJ and Bill Podcast on Facebook, where you can let us know your thoughts and impressions on the Tom Brady roast. I think that's great. Yeah, can't wait.
And speaking of weekend sports, and I even posted this on Facebook. I even worked in Kentucky as an operations manager of a radio station for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
I have never, ever gotten in to the Kentucky Derby.
Actually went? No, me neither. Well, I mean, I never had the opportunity to. I don't know that I would. I mean, it sounds cool, but it's over in 2 minutes.
But the television coverage is all day long.
Yes, it is. It's like a Super Bowl that lasts 3 minutes, but we're going to have, like you said, we're going to have all day coverage. We're going to interview everybody. And I did see some of the cutesy interviews of, the guy on horseback interviewing the other guy on horseback as we're trotting along in the infield, very cute, very cool. I get it. It's a spectacle. I get it.
I read a nice little joke though.
Okay.
It's people pretending to be English interviewing other people who are pretending to be English in English accents.
That's right. That's right.
Because
yeah.
What is it in Lexington, Kentucky, right?
Lexington, Kentucky.
I lived in Kentucky. Hey, y'all see that horse out there? I think he's going to go pretty damn fast. That's all I'm saying. In fact, I got some money, and I'm putting the farm on that one right there. Because look at that horse, man. He looks like he can run like a son of a bitch.
No, yes. I mean, I did spend some quality time in Kentucky as a young radio guy myself, and I can attest that what you are saying is 100% accurate. Not that we don't love our friends and listeners in Kentucky. We love you all, but we understand that it's kind of backwoods. Well, now you're going to make me look up who actually won it, because
I don't have a clue.
I don't remember either, but stand by and I will look it up. So
I watched as much of the Kentucky Derby as I did basketball, but I did watch one of the best finishes, or I should say the closest finishes in NASCAR history. The last couple of weeks,
oh really?
They have had some finishes. I mean, it was such a photo finish that one guy and his team thought they won until the actual photo finish came out, and NASCAR made the determination that the winner was Kyle Larson, not Chris Buescher at the Kansas Speedway.
Wow.
It was 1/100th of a second difference.
Wow. And by the way, now just to rewind just 10 seconds, Mystic Dan won the Kentucky Derby, and that was also super close. I'm looking at the photo finish of that race too, and it's literally 3 horses within, as they say, by a nose. They're not kidding. It's that close. So 2 really close races. That's awesome. But you're saying that it was so close that, because NASCAR usually sometimes it's laps of a difference, or, not even a lap, but half a lap or something. So you're saying it was that close for the NASCAR race too. Wow.
1/100th of a second. The closest in NASCAR history.
Holy mackerel.
And that's also awesome. And usually it's 2 cars. It was almost 4 wide at the finish line.
That's so cool and so interesting, because at the Derby, number 3, Mystic Dan first, number 2, Sierra Leone second, number 11, Forever Young third. 3 horses, all within 8 inches of the finish line. So, wow. Look at that. Some exciting sports this weekend for you horse race and car race fans. If it goes fast, you had a good weekend.
Was that a guy's 8 inches or a woman's 8 inches?
That's a horse 8 inches. So now we're talking. Now we're talking some serious measurement here. All right, folks, that one might not be safe for work, but that's okay. And in NASCAR, is that how many, in NASCAR inches is that? Well, they're going so fast. Who cares?
Yeah, it was but it was a crazy finish.
What I want to know is what farm did Mystic Dan come from? Because of course I'm here in Gainesville, and just down the road in Ocala, that is the other big horse country. Yes, of course there's Kentucky, but Ocala equally big deal when it comes to horses and horse racing and farming and all that stuff. All right, let's type in Mystic Dan home farm. Maybe that'll tell me here.
Well, that's like when Susan and I, before we were even married.
What's that?
Before Susan and I were even married.
Right.
We lived in Williston, Florida.
Wow.
And we've been married a long time. And yeah, I know that a lot of farms, a lot of great horse country there around the Ocala area.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. So Mystic Dan, a bay colt bred in Kentucky. So he's a descendant of Darley Arabian. Mystic Dan's blah, 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 blah. Okay, never mind. He's from Kentucky. Okay, fine. The colt was foaled at Magdalena Farm near Lexington, Kentucky. Okay, there we go. So, but yes, Ocala, also beautiful, gorgeous, multi-million-dollar horse farm. Yeah, horse center. So yeah, it's awesome. They just built something like the World Equestrian Center or something like that. It's only been open for a year, and it's like, if you're a horse person, it's kind of like the Disney World of horse people, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. So
I remember, because when I lived, I'm originally from Indiana, and I would always go through Lexington. Actually, I still go through Lexington every once in a while. I go back to Indiana from Florida. But when I worked in Kentucky, we'd go back every few weeks, because, we were both, that was my first wife, Gentry, my son, who's now, I won't say how old he is, but he was
he's an old man. Come on.
He was only like 2 years old when we lived in Kentucky.
Right.
But we would always go through Lexington.
I actually lived and worked in Kentucky one summer when I was just out of college. A former roommate of mine was living and working in the tiny little town of Owensboro, Kentucky, which is way out west on the Ohio River. And I worked for him for like just a summer. It was kind of like a paid internship thing, but it was fun and it was a great start. And I don't know how much of that story I've told here before, but I literally slept on the couch for a summer at his little tiny apartment. and we both would go into work early, and yeah, it was awesome.
Owensboro, not that far from Lexington either, is it?
I don't think so. Let's look that up, shall we?
I think it's pretty close, actually, because Lexington is right up there next to the border.
Right. Well, yeah. Owensboro is literally on the Ohio River. Oh yeah, it's west of Louisville and Lexington, but not by a ton. Yeah, no, it's from Cincinnati you go south and there you are. So yeah. I do remember, and I this might have been one of those urban myth things, but I'm pretty sure I remember that when you drove south out of Cincinnati into Kentucky, they had the rumble strips in the road that you would drive over the rumble strips and you hear the and it would sound like a horse galloping when you went into Kentucky. And I remember that, and I don't know if that's a dream or the real thing. I'm trying to remember, but I seem to remember that somewhere. I don't know. Maybe that's an old memory. So
I think
welcome Kentucky to the BJ and Bill podcast. We love you. We're glad you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, now I was like south of you. I was in southeast Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
Was scary.
Southeast Kentucky. Well, that's near Virginia, West Virginia. Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Right out of Hazard.
Dukes of Hazzard.
I didn't see Bo, didn't see, Luke or any of those guys.
Right.
But when I worked there, which was years ago.
Me too.
It was like I was young in radio, had a chance to be a program director and ops manager of an AM FM big chain there, AM FM stations. So I jumped on it because, hey, a management job. I haven't even been in radio that long.
Right.
But man, it was coal mining. You'd go through the town. It was just coal dust everywhere.
Oof.
And it was like, it was the most beautiful town because they were still running moonshine. That's how old I am when I lived there. And the people of the town, I'm just going to give it out. It's Manchester, Kentucky. If someone come up to you in that town and said they were going to shoot you, guess what?
They were serious.
Yeah, they were serious. They weren't no joking around.
I hear you.
But I spent almost a year there, and I said, I got to get back to civilization.
Yeah, Owensboro was a tiny little town. There was the cable, there was the newspaper back when newspapers were a thing. There was the newspaper, and oh, by the way, we own an AM and FM license. And there was the cable TV company, and oh, by the way, we own an AM and FM license. And like throwaways. So mine was with the cable company, and we had an AM hard rock. I mean, just screaming, the old school, top 40 screaming disc jockeys, and then a beautiful music automated FM with just a room full of reel-to-reel tape players that would just cycle through the songs, the beautiful music songs.
Oh yeah.
And yours truly was the news guy, same as it was when I was at whatchamacallit at WLZ with BJ and Bill. I would come in early, I would record a newscast, I would put them on the FM to play whenever they wanted to play them, and then I would go and do the regular news for the it was small town but super fun. And
well,
you were
at least in the part of Kentucky where it was a small town.
Yes.
But it wasn't, it probably a little bit, but my small town was, it was backwards as hell.
No, this was, you
heard Deliverance when you drove down
the the big industry in town there was the headquarters of Red Man Chewing Tobacco was in Owensboro, Kentucky. Yes, on the Ohio River, where they would, bring in the tobacco and all that. And so, yeah, it was a small town, but it wasn't like you said, it wasn't out in the woods somewhere. It was not. It was right on the river. They had the riverfront park and the whole thing. It was right. I saw they had a music festival, and I'm pretty sure, God help me if I misremember, I'm pretty sure I saw Waylon Jennings there do a show. So yeah, it was It was, it had some stuff going on. It wasn't terrible. So,
well, where I was, it was between Hazard, true story, folks.
I hear you.
And Harlan.
Harlan. Okay.
And you know what's in Harlan?
No,
You don't?
I could look it up, but no, I'm sorry. My Kentucky trivia is.
I thought you liked to eat it just a little better than that.
Try me.
It was the very first Colonel Sanders Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, Colonel Harlan Sanders.
Yes.
What's his name?
And it still stands today.
Wow. That's super interesting. And yes, I mean, I'm not a huge fan. It's not like I'm going all the time, but yeah, if somebody puts Kentucky Fried Chicken in front of me, I will eat it. Absolutely. Absolutely yummy.
It's right off the interstate there in Harlan, Kentucky. I-75 if you're going from, Indiana
to
down into Tennessee and you're going, I-75.
Yep.
You're going to run right by it.
Awesome.
Then you go just a little bit farther east, you can get you some moonshine.
Wow. That's all right. So
I'll also swear to God on this one.
Uh-oh.
The station was owned by the judge.
Wow.
Of the county.
Wow.
And on voting day, the judge and all the other goodies would be downtown.
Yes.
Passing out money for the people to go vote. I swear to God, that was the scariest place I ever lived in my life. In fact, when I got there, there was only one apartment building. So I went down there to, try to get an apartment.
Right.
And the lady at the front desk said, I am sorry. We are, all of our apartments are,
right.
Rented.
Yep. Right.
We have a waiting list and it'll probably take at least a year.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, oh my God, here I'm moving to this little town.
Right.
And I got to find a place to live. And the only apartment complex is completely full for another year. Wow. I go back to the radio station. The judge, who was at the radio station, said,
Your Honor,
get yourself an apartment. And I says, no, man, they're all full. I'm on a waiting list. It'll be at least a year. Hold on a second. He picked up the phone. I just hired a new guy here at the radio station. He come down and rent himself an apartment, and there are no apartments. Okay, I'll tell him. You need to go back down there. They have an apartment for you.
Oh, wow. Yep. That's how it works.
And now you know why I only lived there like not even a year. I finally, because, I said, I got to get out of here while I'm still alive.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. We're not pulling strings. We're running the whole town.
It was an experience, though. I will admit.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. My favorite, I mean, nothing like that, but that's how small the town was. I mean, literally, when I would go to like a city council meeting or a county commission or whatever they have in Kentucky, city council meeting, there would be literally two reporters there, one from the newspaper, one from the cable company. And I was one of them because I was the cable company, radio guy. And literally the mayor would, and that's the meeting for today. Frank, you got any questions, Frank? No. Okay, Frank. Thank you. See you next week. Bill, you got any questions there? No. Okay, Bill. We'll see you next week, everybody. Take care. And, we just knew with the rip, and that was it. We'd go and, on our way. What's the greatest thing? A tiny, tiny town. It was awesome. I think I was driving my Ford Pinto back then. Pretty sure.
I don't remember what I was driving back then.
I fit right in.
How long it'd been.
Yeah.
I remember too. Gentry was like 2 or 3 years old, and I don't know. He got a Kentucky Wildcat shirt, and I can remember this day because he was just learning how to talk, and he was like, going to the babysitter.
Right.
He come back. I like the Kentucky Wildcats, Daddy. They're my team. I'm going, oh my God, what am I doing to my son?
That's funny because I never hear a Kentucky accent with him.
Oh yeah, he doesn't have it in it, but man, he did. when he was 2 years old, you would have, yeah, it was.
Yeah,
But
that's amazing.
I will admit it was a hell of an experience. And I actually deep down enjoyed the memories. And
Sure.
sometimes when I'm going to Indiana, I'm thinking, I should pull off here at this exit and just go down and check out Manchester, Kentucky.
Same thing. I mean, it was a tiny town, and it was at the very start of my radio career, but it was fun. It was for me. It was fun.
Same
and,
here.
You know, and when you were on the air, of course, you were a rock star in a small town because everybody knew you.
Oh yeah.
Everybody knew you, and yeah, the young ladies were, happy to meet you.
Yeah, we were XL 104, the Rock of the Hills.
Okay.
And our AM station, I forget what frequency it was, but it was an automated country station with a live morning show.
Pretty sure mine was WOMI, but that I think AM, I think, but I'm not. It's been 50 years. It's probably not there anymore. 40 years.
Yeah, there was a young kid that worked there, Danny Mack.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually was born and raised in Manchester, Kentucky. So he was kind of my rock. I stayed around Danny Mack.
Yeah. I was going to say that, we've talked about my old friend Kent Jones, who just retired from radio. We tried to have him on the show, but that didn't work out. But he's the guy that got me there. He's the guy that, I slept, it was his couch that I slept on for 6 or 8 months. So yeah, that was it. So hats off to you, Kent Jones.
Oh
man, they had the memories. Wow, we went down. That was a long, fun trip down memory lane. Look at that. So there you go. All right.
And we're going to do some more memories, but it was more recent.
I know.
My memories from last Monday when I saw my bestest friend on stage.
All right. We will talk. Whoa, there's a tease, folks. Let's talk about that as soon as we get back from this break. Go refill your coffee, and we will be right back. Welcome back. I'm Bill Stevens, along with my friend BJ Odom, and this is BJ and Bill, the podcast. As always, feel free to leave us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all of that stuff. And if you want to contribute something, we would love to hear from you, either through the comments, because we read them all, or stop by the Facebook page. Just do a search for BJ and Bill podcast on Facebook. And remember, as I always say, you got to spell out the and, BJ and Bill podcast over on Facebook. There you go. So we were a long and winding road to use the Beatles line there down memory lane with Kentucky radio. We both have a history with that. And there's more oldie goldie stuff to report because BJ Odom, ladies and gentlemen, was there live. You probably saw it on Facebook. He posted some videos to see our man Peter Noone at Disney World. Unbelievable.
Yep, he was at
Epcot Center. There you go.
I will say
the gory details.
Okay, let's start out with it was busy.
Busy.
I mean, it was busy. I need to get the picture that my wife took. There is a picture that she took of like all the parked scooters, the mobility scooters. There was like 2 rows of mobility scooters. And beside the 2 rows of mobility scooters, there was like 2 rows of walkers.
They didn't let the old folks with the walkers take them in?
Well, I guess they didn't want to put them. I don't know, but they were like all lined up.
Okay.
We got there like almost 2.5 hours early.
Holy cow.
And the line was like long.
I would have missed the show because there's no way I would have thought I need to be there 2.5 hours before the show.
Oh, neither did we. We were going to get something to eat and then finally I said, you know what? I'm going to take my little mobility scooter because you can actually watch the show from outside the venue. They have because the sidewalk goes by the venue.
Yes.
And it's all opened up. I mean, there's
Yes.
some trees and some poles, but I said, I'm just going to park my little unit right here next to there.
Yep.
And I did that about 45 minutes to an hour before the show. And I said, I'm not even going to try to get in there.
Okay.
But you know, it wasn't still a bad seat, you know, and he came out a little bit closer. And so
Okay.
that was good. Here's the worst thing about the show.
Okay. Now we're getting to the meat of it.
And it's not Peter Noone's fault. But next to me, he must have loved every song Peter Noone did. Because he sang every song Peter Noone did in a voice that was, let's just say, he didn't need an amplifier.
Okay.
And let's just say he didn't understand like keys and pitches and stuff like that. But not only that, it was like watching a Chinese movie. He was always like 2 seconds behind from how the song was actually going. It was like he was like the echo of the song. It was like, oh my God, this guy is going to sing all through the show, isn't he? And yes,
Yes.
he did.
Yes, he is. Yep. There's always that guy or girl at the show somewhere that, you know, the super fan that knows every word, can't sing it, but knows every word and just screams it at the top of their lungs.
Oh,
I've probably done that once or twice in my, maybe just one song, not a lot, because, you know, I recognize that. Yeah. So I get it. So what, you didn't like use your cane to beat him down or something like that?
No, but I about ran over him with my mobility unit.
I got you. So, all right. So on to the show. Peter Noone, our hero, Mr. Wonderful. How was the show?
Excellent. And let me tell you another thing. I'm thinking, okay, these are only 30-minute sets.
Right.
Probably won't get to most of his songs in 30 minutes. I forgot. Peter Noone was an artist of the 60s and early 70s when the songs were anything from 1:50 to 2:20.
Right. The long ones might have gone 2:45. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he got every one of his hits in. And he, you know, what was really funny, because most of the artists I go see there, they hit that 30-minute mark.
Right.
And it's done.
Right.
I think he did like 35 minutes. I think he went like an extra 5-7 minutes.
Okay.
Did
he do any medleys kind of a thing? Because you see that on the Super Bowl all the time. You know, okay, we're going to have Beyonce on the Super Bowl. She puts like 4 songs together into one routine kind of a thing.
No, not really. But he did do, it was really kind of cool. They just did like about a minute version.
Right.
Of Start Me Up by the Rolling Stones.
Oh, really?
And he started prancing up and down the stage, trying to look like Mick Jagger, had his like nose out and his lip out a little bit.
Yeah, cool.
Start me up. And that was kind of cute. His best line of the night was about midway, a little more than midway through the concert, when he just looked at the audience, kind of like took a deep breath. And he goes, oh man, I just want you to know I'm just not 75 anymore. I'm 76. And of course the crowd went nuts, which meaning, you know, I'm going to be 69 here soon.
Sure.
But I think a majority of that audience were probably, because let's just face it, the 60s were probably people in their 70s now.
Well, of course.
And so, yeah, they cheer. Oh, you know, they thought that was, and I thought it was a great line too, though. So they cheered that line.
Right.
So I was thinking, okay, the second show, maybe we can get in there. You know, we'll just go over there as the show is ending.
Right.
The line was just as long, with another line of mobility scooters and walkers. And that is the busiest I think I've ever seen Epcot on a weekday. It was busier than it was spring break.
Right. Do you think it was the same people coming back,
Oh
or what?
no, it
new
was
crowd.
because they weren't out of the venue yet.
Oh, I see. So yeah, you were leaving. You were going because they throw everybody out.
Yes.
So you're leaving, and you see the line waiting to get in behind next to you. There, I get it. Wow, yeah.
And I figured, well, we heard about every song.
Right.
We're good.
Right.
And we went and got something to eat and just kind of enjoyed a little bit of the evening and went home like most old people.
Wow.
So maybe we should have stayed for the last show. That might have been, the best bet.
So you saw the first.
Yeah, we saw the first show. And it was at 5:30.
5:30. Wow. Afternoon sun beating down on Epcot Center. Outdoors. Yeah. Well,
I was just thinking about being in line for 3 hours in that beating sun.
You old people. How do you old people do that? Wow.
I don't know.
Stay hydrated, baby.
It was a good show. Of course, I didn't get to see, Peter Noone.
Yeah.
Didn't get to tell him his agent was a piece of crap and wouldn't let us talk to him.
Right.
I'm trying to get him on the podcast.
Right.
But guess who did get backstage because I saw the picture on Facebook?
Your son.
Not BJ Odom. No.
Your son.
Not my son.
Oh, okay.
Pat Sajak.
Pat Sajak.
So that means last Monday, Pat Sajak was at Epcot to see Peter Noone.
He's there's another one. He's got to be 90 years old by now too. I don't know that, but wow. The price is right. I'm sorry. Ooh, bad bill.
Yeah. He does Wheel of Fortune, right?
Wheel of Fortune. Yeah. Well,
he just retired.
Still doing it? He's not.
No, he just retired. Well, I don't know if he's still on or not, but I know they filmed the final episode like 2 or 3 months ago.
So you're Pat Sajak, big freaking deal. How do you get backstage to see Peter Noone? Come on.
How did you get through his agent?
Does he have a podcast? Does Pat say everybody has a podcast now? Everybody has a podcast.
He's probably got one with Vanna.
Probably. Talking about great moments on Wheel of Fortune. Woohoo.
But it was and he was still excellent. So,
of course, he's a showman to the end. I mean, he just is. I watch his videos on YouTube still, and YouTube, his website and stuff. And yeah, he's still got it.
And besides playing Start Me Up and Love Potion #9, he did throw that into it. I mean, I think he did, he did all of his major hits. There were hits that he didn't do, obviously, but
right.
Everyone that just,
awesome.
I could have just got the guy next to me to shut up.
Shut up. I would have, if I had my walker or my cane, I might have used it for evil purposes there. I really might have. So
I'm not rude, but I wanted to say, shut up.
Frick up. Yes, I know. Wow.
Or at least get in sync.
And we don't mean the boy band.
Yeah.
Right.
He was always a half a second off. I mean, like, I don't know how. I mean, I can't sing, but if I'm going to sing, now I do know what I did. What is it? Henry the Eighth. There's a line in there. Henry. Oh yeah, where he goes, Henry. I did that, and that one. Okay, cool. I hollered that out loud. That's Henry. Henry the Eighth. I am.
Right.
And here's what was really weird too. I figured that would be his closer.
Henry VIII?
Yeah.
We disagreed on that. So good question. What was the closer?
You're not going to believe this.
All right.
Was it Listen? No, it wasn't Listen People. But it was another slow song.
A slow song for a closer?
I know. I don't know if he just said, oh man, we got to get Henry VIII. Then he said, hell, I'm doing this one other song too. I don't know. I don't know if they meant to do an encore, and then he finds out they don't do an encore on these shows.
Right.
I don't know.
Threw it in.
Yeah, so he just threw it in. But yeah, he did Henry VIII. Crowd was up. Crowd was clapping.
Right.
People were starting to leave, and then all of a sudden he goes into another song. I go, oh, okay.
Okay. Awesome. Did Mrs. Brown got a lovely daughter?
Oh yeah, Mrs. Brown, you've got a lovely
daughter. Yes, of course. And there's tons of them.
Yeah. So it was a good show, and I was glad I went.
Awesome.
I wish there would have been a place where he could sell swag, so he would come out and sign autographs. And
I wonder if he did after like the third show. Well, what time would that have been over?
About 9:30.
Yeah. Wow. That's a day. That's
But
5 hours or so.
and of course, he didn't say anything about it. But we went to, I forget which band it was that we went to Epcot to see, and they were talking about how the children of the band, enjoyed Disney and how they were a little bit awake for last night's concert, but they were like pretty gone the second day because we always go on Monday because they usually play Sunday and Monday, and sometimes they play Saturday, Sunday, and Monday depending on the group.
Right.
But they said, we took all the kids got to go. So he was almost acting like, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the way he was talking, like they go there for free, they get a free hotel, they get fast passes, can get on any ride whenever they want to, and that's their pay. Now, if that's true or not, I don't know.
I can't imagine. Well, I can imagine that somebody
now, you had food involved in that too, and you brought your band, you brought your spouses.
Right. That's a good point because by that time, band, spouses, kids, you're probably talking 20, 25 people. You're probably, you're talking 10, 15 good hotel rooms. You're not staying.
It's not in the,
Yeah, you're not staying at the Motel 6. No, you're staying at the Contemporary or you're staying at, one of the resorts. And like you said, food. Yeah, that could be thousands and thousands of dollars. Well, it would be thousands and thousands of dollars. So you do it for nothing? That's an interesting. So, all right. So begging the question. So here we are. We're going to do a little more surfing. So let's do Peter Noone and see where he is going to next. Right? Peter Noone.
He'd be there this week. Yeah. Because this weekend, even he could have been somewhere this weekend.
Right.
Totally different because he was there a week ago today, which was a Monday.
So today, as we record this, it is Monday, May the 6th. So the concert dates. So here's past dates. Let's see. On Sunday, Orlando. Okay, you're right. So on Monday, he was in Orlando and he did Sunday and Monday, like you said. And then he was already off and running, went to New York, Des Plaines, Illinois, St. Charles, Illinois. Wow. So this guy is, what's that?
He's got a hell of a schedule. He stays busy.
Yeah. Oh my God. He's like 9, 10, 11, 18, 19. So he's pretty much every weekend, Friday, Saturday, then Saturdays and Sundays, Riverhead, New York, Lancaster, PA, Wilkes-Barre, PA, Venice, Florida, Sunday, May 19. That's crazy. He's in Pennsylvania on the 18th, Venice, Florida, the 19th, back up to New Jersey. Oh, that's by the 30th. So he's got 10 days there. New York City, Kent, Ohio, Florence, Indiana, Franklin, Tennessee, Franklin, Boston. Wow. This guy is on the road and working it hard. So good for you, Peter Noone. We love you. We just wish you'd be on the show with us. There you go. All right.
Maybe I should call his agent and say, "This is Dr. Wilheimer, and we need to talk to Peter. We can do this on the phone. It's a televisit, and we need to check his knee, the progress on the knee. What about he's thinking of knee surgery. You didn't know this as his manager? You should have known this as his manager. He's thinking of knee surgery. I have an open date,
right?
And it'll be on Monday. And we wanted to get him on about 10 o'clock so I can talk to him about the knee surgery. Oh, okay. I better let him know this. Call the doctor.
Just need a half hour of his time. No big deal.
We fooled you. It's just BJ and Bill. We're trying to get you on the podcast. The only way we can get through with your damn manager who blocks us every damn time and keeps us away from you. The bastard.
All right. So if you know Peter Noone or you know anybody close to him, tell him BJ and Bill are desperately trying to reach out to him and hitting a brick wall at every turn.
Maybe we should say, have you ever heard of the BJ and Bill show? They want to hire him. We need some open dates for you. How much is it?
Right.
Now we have some special things we require with Peter Noone. Can we talk to him?
Right.
before we do the hiring?
There's
no, hell, we're not hiring. We just got him on our podcast. That's all we wanted.
yeah. Come on. This
I wonder
isn't that hard. I mean,
here's another thing I wonder though. What is Peter Noone for a night?
well, that's a good question. I mean, he's working his buns off. That's true. He's far from an A-list star anymore, but you got to believe it's worth, I don't know, a few $1,000 a night. I don't know. I don't know.
At his caliber, you're never going to go for less than 20 or 50 grand. I wouldn't think.
Well, that's a pretty big range. So let's stick with something on the low end. 25,000 a night is what you're saying per show.
And that would be with, rooms, probably transportation. Now, here's another thing I wonder, and I can't remember. Now, this is back in the day that, with us on Oldies 95 over 20 years ago. Do you remember, did he bring his band, or was it local musicians hired and they, played his songs? Because I know that's a good question. I know there was
we saw him. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a few bands in Fort Myers that were actually from Naples.
Right.
And they would play with a lot, like the Platters would come to town or whatever.
Yes.
They were the band.
Yes.
Although, you get the star or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's say you got the Trogs, you get the two guys who are actually in the Trogs. And then the rest of them would be, local musicians that basically did all the music and the harmony.
And I don't know the answer to that. So the question is, does he travel with a big, you know what? That brings back a memory. I remember once you and I did a show. We weren't part of it. We were just there. I think we had a tent, we had the booth or whatever. And we saw the Guess Who at Edison Community College. I think it's just Edison College now. I think they upgraded, whatever. And they did that, but they had like the Edison College jazz band playing. And I was blown away by how good that show was. I mean, with the brass, background jazz stuff and the Guess Who song. And, it's like none of the original band members, but they had the guy that kind of sounded like Burton Cummings, so, but yeah, so that happens a lot. I mean, I remember seeing Brian Wilson, Beach Boys. Oh my God, Brian Wilson, just him with a pickup band. I mean, a band that he traveled with, but it was, no other members of the Beach Boys, and they were terrific too. But they're young people that can play. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, they did a lot of some of those, 60s and 50s, 60s, and even 70s groups do that. The band is basically local, so I don't know if he uses a local band and the rest, and then he just comes, or
don't know.
Some of them are his bandmates,
Yeah.
Every show he does.
I can imagine, if you're Peter Noone, I would imagine there's probably a few guys left over, or, a band that he's had with him for a while or something. But I don't know. It's a good question. And who knows? Because if you're going to do that, you would think you would probably need some time to like get the band, to be familiar with him and his style and all that. And you probably couldn't have the crazy schedule that he's got if it was a pickup band every new town you went to. So, what do we know? We're just a couple of old disc jockeys ratting about Peter Noone not showing up for our podcast. So I don't know. That's
awesome.
I'm
going to be on another podcast.
Yes, you are.
I'm getting out into the podcast world. I'm going to be on Gut Punched.
Oh, I thought you were talking about your own podcast. Well, tell us more about Gut Punched. Tell us more about Gut Punched.
Don't laugh about the title, because the title tells it all. I don't know. You may have worked with him, because I know you worked at 96 Super Q back in the day.
Yes.
Jeff Edwards. Do you know the name Jeff Edwards?
Sounds familiar.
He works for Beasley now.
Right.
But he's another one of the guys that's actually a little older than we are.
Wow.
And something that's going on, especially in our age and above,
right,
it seems to be almost an epidemic now, is Alzheimer's disease.
Mm.
And unfortunately, Jeff Edwards, his wife,
right,
a while back was, diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Wow.
And so he was coming up with this podcast, like me doing now. I'm doing the second podcast besides the BJ and Bill one. Right. I'm doing one on transplants, because it's close to my, to my world. And
Sure.
I needed to learn about it. Now I've learned about it. Now I want to spread the word. Same thing with him. He's learned a lot now about Alzheimer's disease, and he's, constantly learning more. So he said, he was trying to think of a name for his podcast. And it was like he found out his wife was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And it was like a gut punch, like somebody just punches you in the gut, because basically that's the way he felt. And so he said that is how he came up with a name for his podcast. And so we did a little cross promotion. I interviewed him. It'll be on in a few weeks on my, Gift of Life, the organ transplant podcast. And and he did a little interview with me, which he will have on his podcast, Gut Punch.
So you said Alzheimer's. I understand. Is it about like living with that, or when you have a loved one diagnosed or something?
It's basically, all the things that he's learned as a caregiver.
Right.
And about the disease.
Wow.
And like everything else, it's a major disease. There's, so many things you can learn. There's support groups. And so he's like, went the whole gamut.
Wow.
Trying to know as much as he can. And now he's sharing it on this podcast. So if there's anybody in your family or someone close to you with Alzheimer's, I would say, or dementia of any sort, really, Gut Punch is brand new. Well, he's actually on episode 8 now.
Okay.
So he's, a little bit farther along than my new podcast, but yeah.
Part of the Podcast Playground Network?
Yes, he is.
Of course. Awesome.
So check it out. It's Jeff Edwards and Gut Punched.
We'll put the link to it in the show notes for people who are interested in. And you and I both, you leapfrogged me. I have started recording podcasts with our friend and hypnotherapist, Vicki Wagner. And the show has a name. It is called The Practical Path, a path to personal and spiritual development, which is about becoming a better you. And we're having great fun recording them. And yours truly needs to get off his fat ass and get them submitted all to Podcast Playground, because we have 6 or 7 of them already in the can as well. So yeah, that's my task for this week. So by the time we come back next week, yours truly will be announcing the launch of the Practical Path as well. And then there's BJ Odom as well with the Gift of Life. So how's that going?
That's going pretty good. And we already have dropped our first one.
Right.
And that was with Mike Terry. I don't know if you remember Mike or not, but he had a heart transplant and he had his a little before mine. And we actually had him on the BJ and Bill show when we were still on the radio talking about his heart transplant. And then this week, Melissa Tuff will be on. We're looking for a kidney. She works a lot with the Kidney Foundation. And so she's going to be guest number 2, which will come out Thursday. Then the following Thursday, we head to Nashville. I'm going to talk with Al Brock, who has a liver. He got a liver transplant and he's doing well.
Good.
In his business, being a record promoter. He also works at Nash FM in Nashville. So we're going to talk to him.
Cool.
And then we're going to talk to Lifelink, who once goes out and does a lot of stuff with organ donation.
I remember back during BJ and Bill's show days, was that Lifelink that we had on? We used to have somebody on who was, what's the right word for that? Somebody who talked to families about.
That would be Lifelink. Yes.
Lifelink. Yeah, I remember that. I remember having somebody come on the show a few times to talk about, gift of donation and stuff like that as well. So yeah. And that's when BJ Odom forced me to make sure that my driver's license included the fact that I am an organ donor on it, which I am and still am to this day, and happy to do it. So when I'm done with the parts, you can use all the parts you want. That's fine.
Well, it will not air for another couple of weeks, but when I talked to Al Brock, unfortunately, he lost his wife, probably 3 or 4 years ago. And, now he has the liver transplant, and, he never really thought about it at the time.
Right.
But he said, I know that would have made my wife happy. And I so wish that, knowing what I know today,
right, that
we would have donated her organs when she passed. And he did not. And now,
Oh, okay. Can you do that? You're obviously more of an expert than I am. As a spouse, as a husband and wife, can you do that after somebody passes, or do you have to have that person's permission?
I'll find out when I talk to LifeLink, because I know things have changed.
Right.
I know LifeLink used to say, the family sometimes can say, "Oh no, we don't want this."
Right.
And then that's why you should, put it on your driver's license.
Right.
And, be a registered organ donor.
Right.
That way, when the time comes, right there, it's on your license. It's pretty
But
much.
even that, as I remember,
and you should, they could change their mind. So you need to tell them your wishes.
Right. I remember that very distinctly from the interview that we did, that even if Bill says, yes, I want to do this, Bill's family, after Bill passes, can say no, which is crazy, but that's the way it works, right? So,
and that's why they told us back then anyway, and the laws may have changed by now, but they said, make sure the first thing you do when you decide to be an organ donor, tell your loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be a pleasant conversation, but tell them, because really when it comes down to the final, they get the final say. But this was like 20 years ago. And the rules may have changed. And like I said, we'll be finding out on the show here in another 3 weeks.
I ask that because I'm curious. Because see, how about Bill, for example? How about yours truly? It's me. I mean, I have a niece and a nephew in California, and a cousin in Ohio, and an ex-wife in Fort Myers, but I'm not legally connected to any of them. If I put that on my driver's license, am I good to go, or are they going to still reach out? Anyway, those are questions that you're going to find out about and will report back to us. So
of course, it'd be important too. Like, let's say something did happen to you, and who has permission to tell them? Do you have have you assigned someone to be your representative if you're in a coma or something, or on life support, to make those decisions for you, as far as take them off the machine, leave them on the machine.
Right. And I don't know the answer to that. Back when I was living with someone in a relationship, in a live-in relationship, that we did have some of that stuff, but I'm not sure how legal it is. I don't know that. So again, you're going to find out and report back to us, or at least you're going to report it on your podcast, and then we will talk about it then. So, wow, that was kind of an interesting way to wrap up the show. Let's and
here's it. Sign a piece of paper, give me complete control over your life and your funds and everything else, and I'll just take control.
I think that's the best answer. I really do. Yeah, there you go, folks. All right.
He's in the hospital. We need a spokesman. You're supposed to call this old guy. His name is BJ. I think he makes all the decisions for Bill now.
That's it. I'll sign that. Send it over. I'll sign that. All right, good. I'm glad we ended on a fun note. And we had so much fun and we had so much good stuff to talk about. I didn't even talk about my week vacation, which was not really a week's vacation, but maybe that'll wait for next time. So that'll be fine. Because literally last night, what's that?
Because I really want to talk about this next week.
Okay, yeah.
You said you were off on your personal development group.
Yes, and it's even bigger than that. It was a silent retreat. Imagine Bill being silent for 4 days. Imagine Bill being silent for 4 days. That's all. Well, you're going to have to come back next week. That's a tease, folks. You're going to have to come back next week to hear the full story.
How could you learn anything? Nobody said anything. How could you
develop? Saying nobody ever said anything.
How could you develop on that? Well, what did you learn? Nothing. We were quiet the whole 4 days.
Quiet for 4 days. There's a bigger story to this, and all will be revealed next week. That's all I'm going to promise. That's it.
Like, let's say you want to have sex with somebody in the group, and you can't say it. How? Oh man, there's so many questions I'll have next week.
Write them down. I'm not answering anything anymore. On advice of my attorney, I am zipping it right now. All right. I'm glad we ended on a funny note, as we always do. All right, everybody. Wow. What a show. Number 88. That was a good one. I love it. All right. BJ Odom, you have yourself a wonderful week. Everybody else, you have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week. Remember, 5-star reviews wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah.
BJ and Bill podcast on Facebook. Leave your comments, leave your questions, leave your crazy emojis. We don't care. We love you all. Have a great week. We'll see you then. Up to then, it's just time for BJ to say,
see ya.